Hey guys, I got some Doordash chronicles for you. We have a local store that's called Dash Mart that is a convenience store that is owned by Doordash. And when we go in there to do pickups, they have a rack there of free food, things that are going to expire or go bad, and they just want people to take them. So today they had limes and bananas and lettuce. So 2 big, huge heads of romaine lettuce. So I guess Mike and I are going to have to find some way to eat on that this week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Dawn, and this channel's Dawn Does Keto. This channel is all about my accountability and my personal journey on the ketogenic diet. It's Thursday night. Stop doing that. That's disgusting. It looks dirty.
Only you would think of that. I don't think like that.
Whatever. It's Thursday night. And
it's Thursday night. It's Dawn does dinner with Mike.
That's not what
And
it's
we're
called.
on a long weekend, and that's why I'm in such a good mood, and that's why she's aggravated, because I'm actually happy and excited.
Driving me insane. This episode, because it's Thursday night, is Dinner with Dawn.
And Mike. And apparently I have to be blah humbug Mike.
Whatever. As you all know, we're reading this book, The Case Against Sugar by Gary Taubes. We just finished the first half of chapter 11, so we're going to talk about that here shortly. Stop it.
That's what you get for covering my face with a book.
We're having taco bowls. As you guys saw in the opening clip of this video, we got a ton of lettuce we got to eat up.
Yeah.
So mine has just cheese, the meat, spicy guacamole, olives, and sour cream. And Mike's just has meat and cheese.
Yeah. I don't like olives. Don't like guacamole.
Because he's
Don't
boring.
like sour cream. I'm not boring. I'm exciting. I'm wonderful. I'm amazing.
Do a thumbnail. So what did you do for lunch today?
Same thing I do every day.
Just meat stick and
Yep.
pork rinds?
Crap.
Cheese? Do you take any cheese?
Yeah.
So I was super excited tonight when I got home because we are getting ready
Because I wasn't here? I wasn't here.
He
She was
wasn't.
super-
That's what I was getting ready to say, but no, that's not what I was super excited about. So we have a lot to do tonight to get ready for our trip tomorrow.
She has a lot to do. I don't.
And I got home early because I thought we could film earlier tonight. It's 10 to 9. Anyway, my daughter and her fiance walked in and we were interrupted and I have no idea what I was saying. But it is 10 till 9. Actually, it's 5 to 9 now.
That's what you were saying. It was late.
Yeah.
You thought we were going to get done early because you were home early.
I was like, man, I hope we can get dinner done early and record early and I can get my video edited because we do have things we have to do and we're leaving tomorrow. And then I sat here, I was doing stuff around the house and Mike didn't get home until, what time did you get home? You've only been home maybe an hour. Probably got home around 8 o'clock. I know you got stuck at work, right?
I got stuck at work till 4. Went to my mom's and then helped my dad and stayed there while he was in his chair. And we ended up walking all the way up, or going all the way up the street and all the way back. So I was there for an extended period of time.
For anybody who's new to our channel, Mike's dad is bedridden. And in order to take him out or do anything, we have to use a Hoyer lift and lift him into a wheelchair. And we got a motorized wheelchair for him and it was like 80 degrees here in Ohio today. So it was a perfect day to get him up and get him outside. It's not an easy task, so we can't do it often. So Mike ended up not getting home till late because he was helping his mom and dad do that.
Well, I did that and then I talked to the neighbors for a while. I didn't know you were home. I didn't even pull in the driveway because I parked in the front of the house. Normally I park in the driveway, but because we're leaving tomorrow, I didn't want to block in my truck. Parked in front of the house. Neighbors were sitting out on the front porch. We haven't talked to them in months.
It's like everyone goes into hibernation over the winter.
Well, that, and we're just so busy. We just don't have time to hang out with our neighbors like we used to. So I saw them out there, went over, we started talking about grandkids, and the next thing you know, we're talking about dad, and it just kept going and going and going. But I finally came home and I walked up the driveway and the garage door was shut, which means you were home, and I didn't even know that. So I would have been here sooner. We could have got started sooner. I had to read. I had to, read. And then you made me strip naked so you could do my laundry.
I'm trying to make sure all the laundry's done before we leave.
I was going to film in the buff. And
Well,
she said,
I told
no way, we'll lose every subscriber we have. Don't you do that.
I told him he could Porky Pig it because I definitely needed his pants. I told you guys before he only owns like 3 pair of jeans, so I needed those. But then he needed his shirt washed anyway, so I stayed up late last night and I've been meal prepping food for this weekend. So I got hard-boiled eggs done last night. I made 4 packages of bacon last night. I made 4 keto chow shakes for us for the weekend. Just trying to like set us up to have, you know, food that's good and quick and easy because we really want to relax and I don't really want to spend the whole weekend worrying about like what we're going to be eating. So I did get all of the food pretty much meal prepped. We do have some Noosh pancake mix. We're going to have pancakes one morning and we'll probably cook like eggs and bacon. We got hamburgers, we got hot dogs, just things that are super, super simple. That's the plan.
And while she did all that, I slept.
I mean, he does get up a lot earlier than me, so.
Aww.
You do.
I was waiting for you to go, yeah, thanks a lot. You didn't help me at all. But she was actually nice. I had to sleep because I needed my beauty rest. Take away that. It ain't working. Not one bit. This is better than alive. It's better than alive.
Well, I'm glad you said that because speaking of lies, so I've been thinking my 1-year anniversary of starting this YouTube channel is coming up. It's on April 26th, which is a Wednesday. And I've been thinking that maybe we should do a live that night to celebrate the 1-year start of the channel. What do you think?
Does it have to be on the actual 1-day anniversary?
I would like it to.
The reason I say that is because I normally dash on Wednesdays. This month has been a short month for me already, and I'm direly behind on my dashes. So if we didn't have to do it on Wednesday, but I could always switch out at night because
we would have to. I mean, unless we're done reading the book, we do dinner with Dawn on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it. I could probably still dash that night. It doesn't have to be first thing in the afternoon. So,
well, I'm thinking the time would probably be around 7. And I also already talked to Jackie because Jackie from Jackie's Jinx Journey will sometimes do lives if she's available on Wednesday night because I didn't want to step on her toes and let her know that we were thinking about doing that. And she said that that was fine, that she's going to be working a lot of hours anyway, so chances are she wouldn't probably be doing one anyhow. So right now, if you guys want to mark your calendars, we are planning on doing our next live, which will only be our second one, and it'll be on our own.
It'll be our first one by ourselves.
Without James and Emily on Wednesday, April 26th. Again, I'm thinking around 7 p.m.
That'll work. I can still dash then.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to talk about was we talked about Keto Palooza and how the dates are October 6th through October 8th. Those dates ring a bell to you at all?
October 6th? Not really. October 7th? Not really. October 8th? Seems to me there's something, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. I know it's got to be one of those days, or you wouldn't ask me this question. There's got to be something going on October something. I don't know. What is October 8th?
If you all are coming to KPL on October 8th, which is Sunday, and that's the day that Autumn always does her brunch.
Oh, yeah.
You can celebrate my birthday with me.
Oh, see, a shameless plug for your birthday, and you wanted me to fall for it like I didn't know it was your birthday. Of course I know it's your birthday. You got it written down on the board right there.
So we're going to have a birthday party, right? Is that what we're doing?
You don't like parties, so no, we're not.
At Keto Palooza? No party at Keto Palooza? Dang.
We'll sing happy birthday. That's it.
Who's going to sing happy birthday? You?
Every one of our listeners. Everybody who's there, we're going to sing happy birthday to Dawn. All right? Now, I've already put it out there. She can't edit this out. This is the part of the recording.
Oh, I can for sure edit it out.
No, because I'll put it in the messages. I will put it in the messages.
Anyway, when we talked about KPL the other day, it didn't even occur to me.
It didn't dawn on you.
Oh my gosh.
It didn't dawn on her that her birthday was on.
That the last day of KPL is on my birthday. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I thought it was funny. I was thinking about it. And the last thing I just want to mention real quick is we talked about on Tuesday about my dad and how he's been doing keto for the last couple months.
Did you get his results?
I got a little bit of an update. Not much, because I didn't get any exact numbers. But Janet said that he has been off of his insulin since the second week that he's been on keto. And he went back to the doctor, and then his A1C for the first time went down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did. She didn't tell me the numbers. I asked her if she could tell me what the exact numbers were. She said she'd have to check with him and let me know, and I never heard back. But she said no medication and his numbers went down, and it's the first time that that's happened.
Wow.
Even with medication, his A1C hasn't gone down. So it just goes to show you guys that this diet is, this way of eating is better than any medicine.
Yep.
There's no medication that could make your A1C drop like that in such a short amount of time.
Right. Oh, yeah, because it hasn't been that long.
No, he started, it was the end of January, so probably like the beginning of February. The end of January is when we were talking to him about it.
Right.
So maybe 2 months.
And the funny thing about that is, in the chapter today that we're going to start, when we start talking about the mega chapter, my gosh, this chapter is so long, it's ridiculous. But they mention the creation, invention, the release of a new pharmaceutical prescription drug that could be taken
For
to
gout.
help you with your gout. Mm-hmm. It reminded me when I read it right off the bat of taking insulin, because people then thought, oh, I can take this miracle pill and I can do whatever I want. So anyway,
We'll touch on that because I highlighted it in the book.
but again, the point being, medications, that's the answer to everything. And this way of eating, this lifestyle removes that from the equation. And look, I don't care what you say, I feel deeply and strongly that that is one of the driving factors of why doctors in the medical community are so reluctant to finally admit what we've been talking about throughout this whole book, because there's just too much money at stake.
The revenue from all the medications.
My gosh, unbelievable.
So we're going to go ahead and dive into the chapter because it is long and we're going to do our best to get through it. I will preface this by saying there was a lot of medical information, things that were kind of, I almost want to say, over our heads.
Yeah, I mean, really it was.
Yeah, there's just a ton of information. It's impossible to remember it all, and some of it I don't know like if it really makes it that much more relevant, but I know that they're just trying to give you as much information as possible, but sometimes it's like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think they do go over the top. I mean, it does have its place in the chapter, but I think for discussion purposes, there's no way we could talk about it because we really wouldn't understand what we were even trying to say.
Right.
So
we apologize in advance for that. But it starts off this chapter by just giving you a list of Western diseases, everything from just obesity to metabolic and cardiovascular hypertension. I mean, just appendicitis, cancers. I mean, just a ton of different things that are known to us in this day and age. And it starts talking about two gentlemen. One is, his last name is Trowell, and one is Burkett. And they're really important in this chapter. They talk about them a lot. But in 1981, they published their provisional list of the Western diseases. So this was just a short list of them, but the list was very extensive. The Western diseases were mostly chronic disorders. They were not infectious diseases. So not something that's going to be transmitted from you to me because we're sitting this close, but things that you get from, mostly from your diet.
And you know, it's interesting because I think that's more important. I mean, yeah, you got your diseases that, like you said, are infectious, but I mean, these are diseases, this list of diseases, the ones that we're going to talk about specifically, yeah, they are directly related to what we're eating.
Your diet and your lifestyle.
And it's becoming so much more relevant and more obvious. This is why we have such a problem in this country. This was the part of the chapter that I understood and it made sense. Then you get into some of that other scientific stuff and then it kind of gets, you know, a little bit deep, but
so the gentleman Burkett, he was later referred to by the Washington Post as one of the world's best known medical detectives. And they actually even named a fatal childhood malignancy after him. It was Burkett's lymphoma. It just shows you how he dives into the information. And what I mean by that is that it says here that physicians like Burkett and Trowell had the opportunity to train in British medical schools and hospitals, but then ply their trade in missionary or colonial hospitals in far-off corners of the empire. They could see firsthand the differences in the spectrum of diseases afflicting Europeans and the indigenous populations. They did not just learn everything from a book. They actually went out into the field and saw it firsthand. They coined the phrase Western diseases.
you know, the important thing about that is that they took what they learned in the big city, basically in Europe. And then they took it to, like you said, these remote parts of the world, and they studied and observed, not for a couple weeks or a couple months. I think they were in Africa for like 17 to 20 years or something. They dedicated their studies to areas of the world that were unaffected by the westernized diet, the westernized lifestyle, and they watched these areas slowly become westernized.
Become sick.
And then they saw what followed it, which was all of these chronic illnesses.
Right.
And I mean, that helped galvanize all of the factual information that we've been talking about and show you just how everything changes based on what you eat.
It says they were able to observe how the disease spectrum of these indigenous people changed with time as they adapted to Western diets and urban lives. It also says that Trowell would later write that hypertension and diabetes were absent. The native population was also thin as ancient Egyptians, despite consuming relatively high-fat diets. By the 1950s, obese Africans were a common sign in the towns and cities, and when he returned to East Africa in 1970, the towns were full of obese Africans, and there was a large diabetic clinic in every city.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from being virtually none. The native population had no diabetes, and everybody was thin.
And high-fat diets.
Yeah,
that is so important.
They were thin while they were on the high-fat diet. But once they were introduced to the Western diet, everything changed.
It all went the other way around.
So it just says, when populations underwent westernization, chronic diseases emerged with it. So one of the things they talked about was the fact that nobody argued that sugar caused tooth decay. But what they were saying was, if these refined carbohydrates and sugars wreaked such havoc on the teeth, did it not also have profound repercussions on other parts of your body and other systems in your body? How can it only affect that and not affect anything else?
Right.
Now, they did say that Burkitt and Trowell in 1975 thought that the reason that the diets were affecting the Africans was because of lack of fiber, because when you process sugar and grains, you remove the fiber from it. So they thought that it was the taking the fiber out of it. They believed it was the sugar and the grains that were doing it, but they thought it was the lack of fiber that was in there. But then that did change. They eventually, realized that wasn't the issue.
Nothing to do with it.
Right. And they just give more and more examples of this where they go in to a population where there was no sickness and no disease, and then as soon as the westernized diet came into play, it changed. So they were talking about that they did a study on an island nation in the South Pacific known as Tokelau? I'm not sure how to say that.
That sounds good. I could never pronounce that way, but Tokelau, that looks good.
I'm going to say Tokelau. They went in and found that once that island nation was westernized, it then had the highest prevalence of diabetes of any single nation in the world. 38% of all of their people were diagnosed with diabetes. More than 2/3 were obese. There's lots of examples of that throughout this chapter.
They continue to give all these examples, and there's no reason for us to read every single one of them. And then they get into some more information that becomes a little more easy to understand. And one of those is this Occam's razor theory idea. They're trying to come up with a hypothesis on a way to lump together all these different ailments that we were getting, that they were seeing, that we get now, to a relatively single cause. Like, they're trying to figure out, the chapter's title is If Then, and we all know about the if then statement, right? We learned that when we were in elementary school. So they're trying to figure out, if this is prevalent in your diet, sugar, then these illnesses are all also going to be prevalent in your lifestyle. That's it in a nutshell.
And they talk about not every person is going to have every single ailment.
No, and we've talked about that.
And they use that same example again with the cigarettes and smoking. Mm-hmm. But this theory is basically that the simplest hypothesis is always the most likely. What is being pointed at here?
I mean, what is the simple hypothesis right now? I mean, what have we been talking about this whole time?
Right.
What's the one common factor in all of this? Everything that we've talked about, everything that has been written up to this point, there's one item, obviously it's the subject of the book, sugar. That's what they're getting to here right now.
Yeah, it says because the kind of observational evidence researchers deal with is incapable of establishing beyond reasonable doubt that sugar is the factor in Western diets and lifestyles that triggers the aforementioned cluster of chronic diseases, the best we can do is ask whether this is a likely possibility, and if so, whether it is indeed the most likely.
And what do we say to that? What would be your thought? Makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing. I would say it is most likely because, again, this is the case against sugar. We talked about it at the beginning. We're building a case. Every time they go into a new part of the world and they start studying these new groups of people that are unaffected by the Western style and the Western diet, they see a transformation. I don't know how much more you need. I don't know what else you need to see.
And then they go into what makes sugar the leading candidate, basically. And if insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome are ultimately caused by sugars we consume, then so are, to some extent, all the diseases that insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome cause. If this, then this. If sugar causes insulin resistance and elevates triglycerides and makes us fat, then it is very likely that it causes hypertension too. If not directly, then at least indirectly through its effects of insulin resistance and weight. Sugar is the culprit. So if Western diseases are associated with obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome, which many of them are, then whatever causes insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome is likely the dietary trigger for the diseases. So that's the if, then.
Yep. And gee, what is it? Because it's so plain to see.
And it also says it's quite likely they're the primary causes of all these Western diseases, including, as we'll discuss, cancer and Alzheimer's. Without these, sugar in the diet, these chronic diseases would be relatively rare, if not, in some cases, virtually non-existent. And then they go into a whole thing that basically is an if-then along these same lines about gout. And how the ultimate reason that people get gout is because of sugar.
This is why this chapter is so long. They're taking each of these illnesses, westernized diseases, and they're going to break them down to show you how and why, if and then, sugar is the culprit and how it affects these diseases.
And the gist of the whole section of gout is that uric acid accumulates in the circulation, and that's what causes gout. So then what causes the elevation of uric acid? And at one time they thought it was excess of meat consumption, is what they said. But then nearly anybody on a vegetarian diet who ate no meat had no improvement of their gout.
Right.
So if that's the case, then why didn't it get better? It says the incidence of gout in vegetarians, or mostly vegetarians, has always been significant and much higher than is generally assumed. And then it goes back to insulin resistance again, and it talks about how insulin resistance in an individual produces higher serum of uric acid concentration. So if insulin resistance is caused by sugar and insulin resistance causes gout, then sugar causes gout. You just take out the middleman.
Yeah, and if you notice the pattern forming here, you don't have to get too detailed. You don't have to get too in-depth. It's a pretty simple solution. It's a pretty simple concept. I know they get into all that scientific stuff, but in the end, it's very simple.
Gout had spread throughout the British society in the 18th century. Historians refer to it as the gout wave, and it closely parallels the birth and growth of the British sugar industry and the transformation of sugar. So just more evidence for sugar or fructose is the primary cause of gout. And again, they say the fructose components of sugar increases serum levels of uric acid.
I was going to say, too, that we're getting back to this insulin resistant notion. I think this is one of the most important discoveries of modern medicine when it comes to this idea of whether or not sugar is good or bad, because insulin resistance is, man, it's just tied to everything. I mean, we're seeing every time we read a chapter now.
But insulin resistance is tied to sugar. So that's what they're saying. If they show that insulin resistance causes this, and this, then in essence, sugar is causing this, and this.
Yeah, exactly.
Another research reporting that high insulin levels and insulin resistance will increase uric acid levels suggests that sucrose and high fructose corn syrup would constitute the worst of all carbohydrates when it comes to uric acid and gout.
So if you have gout, you probably shouldn't be drinking pop.
No, you shouldn't be eating sugar at all.
No, right.
Anyway, even if you don't have gout. So then it goes on to say that the sugar fructose hypothesis was ignored, as many things in this book that we've read, when it comes to nutrition, have been ignored.
Right.
And it was what Mike said, the pharmaceutical industry developed an inexpensive drug called allopurinol.
That's what it looks like.
And it would lower the acid levels and, in essence, prevent attacks of gout.
Which, in theory, sounds great. But like we mentioned earlier, here's what happens.
The nutritional studies were simply not considered. Nobody cared anymore what nutrition had to do with the fact that people had gout.
Because now they had a cure for it.
Yeah, because the allopurinol appeared to allow gout sufferers to eat and drink whatever they wanted.
Yep.
Just like with insulin and people who are diabetic, I'll just take more medication.
I'll just take more insulin and I can still drink my sugary soda and I can eat, my high carbohydrate meals. Same exact philosophy. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work because now your body's like battling it against itself. You're putting more crap in your body if you think about it. You're just removing one crap for another, and then after you get the one crap in, you can put the other crap back in. It's a lot of crap.
How many times can you say crap?
Crappity crap.
So another if-then statement is that they talk about since the late 1990s, there was a kidney specialist who was studying the effect of uric acid on blood vessels leading to the kidneys. If the uric acid levels in the circulation are high enough, it causes damage to blood vessels, and in doing so, it elevates your blood pressure. If sugar consumption is raising uric acid levels, it is reasonable assumption that sugar consumption elevates blood pressure.
Right.
So again, you go through the process. This is another potentially harmful effect of fructose and sugar that was discovered only after the FDA's official 1986 exoneration of sugar in the diet.
Yeah, they're always coming around every few years to exonerate sugar because they want to keep it flowing. Because they know that as long as we keep eating sugar, first of all, they know it's addictive, so they know it's not going to be easy for people to stop. All right, I'm guilty of that. I'm going, we've talked about my weight gain, and I'm struggling right now by not eating proper. The government knows that. They're never gonna say sugar's bad, even though they know that most people are gonna struggle with that. They still want to keep that money, that cash cow going, and that fuels, again, what we just showed, the pharmaceutical industry, because these illnesses and these health issues that we're developing because of the consumption of sugar, they're treating with medication.
And they put all the nutritional studies on the back burner once a medication comes out that helps.
It's a quick fix.
Helps solve the problem.
Yeah. And you know as well as I do, I mean, we talk about this all the time. When there's something wrong, when you have a problem, you don't feel well, whatever it might be, you don't just put a Band-Aid over it. You got to get to the cause. You got to figure out, why am I feeling like this? Why is this happening? Let's get to the common root cause. They don't want to do that.
Well, and that's like saying, oh, I have high blood pressure because of uric acid. It's not the uric acid. Your uric acid levels are high because of the sugar. You got to go back to, like you said, the root cause. And that's basically what they're trying to do.
And the one thing they talked about, too, that you didn't really mention is that this whole thing about hypertension, they still were trying to blame it on salt.
Yeah, I didn't really touch on that, but they're definitely still blaming salt on...
I can't tell you how many people I talk to right now, when I tell them that I eat a high sodium diet, they're like, well, how's your blood pressure? First of all, I do not eat as well as I should, especially recently.
And if you're eating carbs, then your body is going to retain water and retain sodium.
Right.
If you're not eating carbs, then your body, it comes out in your urine.
It's like a false positive. And I explained to some friends at work that if you're eating a proper human diet, you can eat more salt because you'll have plenty of fluids and your body will flush that right out.
So it says here that there was a study published in 1988 known as the inner salt, and it was designed to test the hypothesis that salt raises blood pressure. As a result, the investigators focused exclusively on blood pressure and salt. They didn't even take into consideration sugar.
No.
To the nutrition community, salt was not just the prime suspect for driving up blood pressure, but effectively the only one. The same four isolated Aboriginal populations that consumed relatively little salt also consumed relatively little sugar, but the investigators were interested in salt alone.
Yeah, they didn't want to link those two together.
Yeah.
They just conveniently left out the sugar part.
Anyway, I hope we were able to do this chapter a little bit of justice, just trying to cram a lot into a short amount of time. And we will read the second half next Tuesday. But we are going to have to cut this video off because it is 9:30 at night.
I have to go back
and Mike has to go back to his mom and dad's. Yep. And I got to get this video edited. And guys, we are just hours away, as far as I'm concerned, from taking our trip.
A 3-day relaxing. I mean, let's hope it's relaxing.
Yeah.
Because once we get there, I'm pulling out a chair and I'm not moving. No phones, no internet, no Facebook, no...
We are going to record a tour of our camper, though. We're for sure going to do that because we will have some time to do it, and we haven't been able to do it up till this point. So once we get settled and get everything set up, I am going to record that, and hopefully that will be included in my Monday video.
And it'll be short, though. It's not like it's going to take all day. It's not like it's a...
No, and it'll be a fun thing to do because we get to talk about our camper. And
right.
We just haven't had time to really enjoy it. This will be our inaugural trip, so we're excited about it, and we will share that with you guys. So that's it for tonight, guys. I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend.
Have a great weekend. Think about us. Hopefully we re-energize, we refocus.
Does Mike need more energy than he already has?
Oh, you guys have no idea. This is a lot of work. I mean, I'm typically wired for the most part, but we're going through this time right now where we got a lot of stuff on our plate, and it takes a lot of energy out. So it's tough sometimes to kind of pep up a little bit for the video, but I'm feeling good right now. I think it's because I know the weekend's coming.
We have the anticipation, the adrenaline of knowing that this weekend's coming up, and my goal for the weekend is to stay on plan.
Oh yeah. So
what do you think I was gonna say?
Oh no, I wanted to hear it. That's a reasonable goal that I need to set as well, because obviously I've been struggling. So I'm hoping.
I'm trying to set us up for success, babe.
No, I've seen it. Believe me, she's been hard at work. And look, you can make all the keto chow you want. I would eat that all day long.
I made 2 for each of us. And like I said, we're just doing very basic hamburgers, hot dogs. I did boiled eggs, which Mike doesn't like, but we will do eggs and bacon. I pre-cooked all the bacon for the weekend. And we do have, some keto treats and stuff that we're going to take, but right now for you, even just staying keto for the whole weekend will be an improvement.
Oh yeah, I would love to get on the scale Monday and actually, I don't care if it goes down just 0.2,
but just to have it finally I
gotta get that downward trend started, because I'm just in a train wreck right now.
People are concerned about you, honey. They're leaving comments.
Oh, you know what, I'm glad you brought that up. So I do want to say something, and I mean, it's all in fun, but it's also serious, because I generally do not respond to messages on YouTube. Every once in a while, somebody addresses me personally, and I try to respond. I have not done that recently. I've had several people reach out and say things, and especially as what you just said, because of my weight gain.
And how bad you've been feeling.
And how bad I've been feeling, and my back.
Guys, it's not, your back's been hurting, but it's not about that number on the scale. Neither one of us are chasing a number. I'm trying really hard to not chase a number. We're trying to make this about how we feel and our health, because we want to be around for a long time, especially, for me, it's for our grandchildren.
Yeah, right. What I'm getting at is that I just wanted to tell everybody while you're watching, thank you. I appreciate you guys. There's been a lot of encouragement. Some of you have just gotten down and said, hey, Mike, get your butt in gear. And I appreciate that, because honestly, that's what I need to do. And so for this channel to help me be accountable, I mean, I have to listen to that. So I'm hoping that, you guys being stern with me a little bit and reaching out and saying things, I appreciate it. I'm going to do my best. If I fail, we'll just, I'll pick myself back up. We'll just keep moving. But hopefully I'll start feeling better. My back does feel a lot better today.
I kind of wanted to touch on that, because a lot of people have been saying that they hope your back feels better. And yesterday it was a little bit better.
Well, you guys saw the video, right? Where Dawn decided to keep in my little attack. Let me tell you something about that. She said she was going to do that. And I'm like,
I'm leaving it in.
You really going to keep? And she did. But let me tell you something about that. I was sitting right here and we were just talking. And that particular day, any little movement that was just not in the right way, the disc that's bulging would hit my nerve, and I would just come out of my skin. And I literally was sitting here, and all I did was lean back a hair, and it pinched. And I could not tell you how painful that was. Unbelievable. But she left that in. I hope you guys got a good laugh at it.
We're not laughing at you.
Because I know you're not laughing at me. You're not making fun of me. But I mean, we got to have some humor in everything. But
right.
I do feel a lot better today. I was doing my exercises last night, and when I got up this morning and did them this morning, I could just tell right away that it was starting to feel better. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because as we talked about before, camping can be a lot of work. There's a lot of, bending, lifting, doing different things like that. And that's stuff that we're going to have to be doing this weekend. And I need both of us to be healthy and ready to go.
So I appreciate that, everybody. Thank you.
So everyone, you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next week.
Yep. Bye.